one that I'm working on right now. It's not resolved yet. I mean, I have a lot of issues in here, but you see where I've used old prints, and a lot of times they get buried in pieces. But it's about, sometimes it's hard for me to give these talks because it makes me clarify what's going on. But these are old pieces that I've actually, they're not that old. I did them this summer. I started using this concept of moving motifs, you know, and just coming up with this is just a piece that I'm going to then tear up and use in other pieces.
So it's similar to this here?
It's yeah. And I do a lot of my pieces are unsuccessful pieces, and I mean the way I work, I'm very experimental, so you're going to end up with a lot of duds. But I like to use the duds in here. This piece is not going to be a successful piece. I can tell already. It's too many. It's too labored, and so. But I tend to workout. I have a workout piece before I go to larger pieces, and that's this right here. This is the workout piece. The colors are they're too jarring and too vibrant. But anyway, it might. Who knows? It might end up being. I doubt it, but it's just got too many issues. But that's how I work, you know, and. So in a way, my process is kind of mirroring the process of rebuilding and tearing down and building again, and I guess that's a hopeful thing. A lot of art after Katrina was about the storm, and I personally decided I did not want to make any money off of the sad storm, you know, and my nature, my personality tends to be, somebody called me today, happy-go-lucky, but a little cynical. And I think that they peg me. and I am happy-go-lucky, but a little cynical. So the cynical side tends to come out in some of the jarring. I don't know. I'm not really sure how it comes out, but it does. Anyway. But in general, I think I would prefer to have a happier work than sad work. And a lot of artwork after Katrina was just way sad. It was just very depressing. But you know, if that's how other artists work out their issues, then that's the way they have to do it. And that is the way people use art. You're going to see a lot of sad art, especially if you're working with children who have issues. You're going to see. But you know, it can also be used to heal, and you know, and so that heals the wound, and then they can go on to something else. And so that's what I mean. Look at David Simons. Are y'all following any of his work? You know who David Simon is? He's a television producer, and he has written 2 series that I know about: The Wire.
Oh, I've heard of that.
The Wire, okay, and Treme. Yeah. And they are very, very tough but beautiful shows. I mean, they are just The Wire. He actually won a MacArthur Fellowship for his work on The Wire. And it's about life in the streets. And life in the streets is hard. And I don't see that as much as a lot of other people do. Mainly, I guess I don't see that, and so it would be dishonest of me to paint about it since I don't even see it, you know. But it's out there. It's definitely out there, and if you're working with children who have issues, whether they're dying or been abused, or you're going to see some tough stuff. And art is a beautiful way to help them heal. And frankly, the kids I teach have seen some tough stuff. You know, right before a rainstorm, those children go bananas. Now, children in general go bananas before a rainstorm, but these little children, they all lost houses, parents, and they lost them in Katrina. So we're getting to the end of our Katrina window, I think. I mean, the city is going to take forever to rebuild, but the children now are older, I think the age group that it probably had the most devastating effect on was your age group, because they were leaving home. They didn't know if their home was safe, you know, or even going to be, they could even have a home to return to. So yet they were trying to establish some footing on their own, and they didn't want to, you know, sound like babies, but their foundation had been washed away. And you know, when a whole city is gone, but people who lost their homes had to deal with rebuilding their houses. Okay, and what was happening in the city was it was out there, but it was getting their house back together was the first order priority for them. And a lot of people haven't done that. And I know y'all heard all of this before, but I mean, it's just, I guess that's why I have these little houses. They are very simple little houses, are my symbol for everybody's house. You know, it's in everybody's house. It's a universal symbol for home. And they're going to just stay there until they work themselves out of my work. I don't know. Every time I do a piece, they come back. And it's almost like they truly are ghosts, because when I pull a piece off of this, the way I do my work is I don't have a fixed matrix. In printmaking, if you're a traditional printmaker, you work with, you pull the same piece all the time. So what I do is my work changes because I add different things to them. So now this is a piece, this is a good example, okay? This is a perfect example of what I do, okay? But what I'm telling you is that I will add a piece, then for the next print I will turn it over, and the ghost of the piece that I added will be there, because it will be imprinted, softly imprinted into the plate. You see? And so when you see these little soft imprints, that's what gets printed onto the plate, and I forget that they're there. You know, and then they'll, after about 2 days, you'll start, when the ink starts to dry, you start to see them kind of show up, and it's really kind of fun. But, you know, very, you know, just that they came back, you know, and so I use the grid a lot because I love I love blueprints, I love, and anyway, so this is a piece where I have taken old pieces and torn them up and used them in a new, it's a little bit shiny. I don't know if I like that shiny piece too much, but that's before I put the sealer on there. But anyway, that's.
Now, do you find that you use the metaphor of rebuilding in your work with children? I mean, because, you know, if they spontaneously during the summer camps maybe draw things that are more traumatic, I mean, do you find that
they don't
bring that approach to working with you? Or
let me think about the children. You know, the children, the little children, the children I have that I teach in the summer are about average 10 years old. So they would have been babies when they would have been 5 and you know, when Katrina happened. I don't see it. I don't see their need for, now we do a lot of building, okay? And my whole thrust when I'm teaching is to teach these kids to be creative with whatever they have around them, okay? We use a lot of cardboard, we use a lot of wire, we do a lot of paper mache. Because for one thing, I don't have a huge budget. I have $800 budget for 80 children for 6 weeks. So you have to be you have to be creative on that kind of budget. So we do a lot with very simple stuff, which is really, in fact, that's what it's all about, is doing a lot with what you have. And that's my, you know, that's what I teach you. You may not be a schooled artist, but you have a lot of imagination, and you can take that imagination and use it to create new. And I tell them this story all the time about the bird's nest. You know, about the birds just picking up whatever they had on the ground and using that. And they get it.
Yeah.
Kids get it. Kids get it more so than adults. And you know, it's the adults who have a hard time with stretching their imagination because they've all been taught to think this one way, and you know, if they can't go get the product at at, you know, Lowe's or Home Depot, well, then they can't get it. But in fact, they could go get it because it's all over the city. You know, there's salvage places all over the city. And so we talk about that kind of stuff, you know. And like I say, kids get it. They're wonderful to work with. They're just sponges. You know, you're going to find this in schools. You're going to, and I like to pull in other themes. I mean, we last year we did a whole summer worth of work on the wetlands, and because you know they're going to have to need to know about the wetlands in order to rebuild them. And I don't know that they're taught about that kind of stuff. I don't know what a lot of these kids know in school. You know, I don't know what they're taught. You know, but BP was a big, you know, the BP disaster last year was a huge. I have to be honest with you, I was so depressed about that. Yeah. That almost was more devastating to me, frankly, than Katrina. Because it truly threatened, I know this sounds ridiculous and selfish, but it threatened a way of life for us. You know, the seafood industry and
the livelihood in a sense.
the livelihood of the people, just the salt of the earth people who live here, who work here, who really work here. I mean, they, you know, and to me that was really depressing. And then we've got this high river, which is about to, you know, could take us over any minute now. So you've got, I mean, there are always issues out there, but in a way, it tends to make, I believe it's why the city is as creative as it is, because we were just, an artist friend and I were just talking about this yesterday. If you are living with the threat of impending disaster, you have to appreciate the day that you're living in and not really focus too much on tomorrow, but know that it could, you know, it could go away. And so you really need to appreciate what we have, you know, right now. And I mean, these levees breaking with this river, really, I mean, we are always one flood away from disaster. You know? So it's a constant, that constant little, you know, one more big hurricane, one more big, you know, I don't think other people see that. That's not true. Other people have tornadoes and issues like that. We have hurricanes. We have water. I've talked enough. Your turn.